All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll call this July 12th meeting to order. Thank you. Nobody here for the public forum, so we'll move.
That was a
I
mistake.
got the.
Yeah. Ding, ding,
Bells are ringing.
ding. Everybody should give a toast.
Yes, are there any additions to the agenda, please?
I have one under new business, just to talk about Lido pool security for race week.
Okay, that's 9.0 and 9.1. Yes, thank you. Very sweet. Any other additions to the agenda?
Did you want to add either of those items to the agenda, or are you satisfied with the discussion?
We can discuss whatever you think.
During the round table.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on round
All
two.
right. All right, may I have then the approval of the agenda with the addition of 9.1 Lido security?
So
Approved.
moved.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Randy. All those in favor? Carried. Mr. Conron.
Hey, so Chief Stevens sends his regrets, can't make the thing. So in the month of June, CVFD responded to 27 calls for emergency service, including over 20 medical calls, several mutual aid structure fires, and motor vehicle accidents. We are in the process of setting up a municipal-wide firefighter level 1 course with potentially 6 new members slated for enrollment. CVFD, as of Monday night, welcomed 3 new members and 1 returning member, which brings our complement up to 48. Fireboat 571, the 26-foot Boston whaler, is permanently out of commission due to a report detailing its lack of seaworthiness as a fire rescue vessel. Its seaworthiness, even as a weekend pleasure craft, is in dispute. The boat is essentially done and done. We're in the process of identifying a replacement, with the vendor likely being local to the province. When the crews are down in Shelburne area, they identified a few boat builders down there who may be able to supply what we're interested in. The replacement for 511, the Ford F-350, received its first real workout in the Barrington Lake Fire Complex and performed admirably. The truck will be sent to Battle Shield for upfitting to an emergency vehicle in the September timeframe, when the required parts are scheduled to arrive at the vendor. The municipal FAC met, and several focal points for CVFD are the unification of dispatch, as time between one dispatch company contacting the other can be as long as 5+ minutes, and the creation of dry hydrants within the district. Identified areas of concern being Bonnie Lee, East Chester, Canaan, and Shaw Island. Training for the month of July will be car fires. This was postponed from last month due to the unending rain we saw in the month in June, following the complete lack of rain in April and May. I'm not exactly complaining about that. I'd rather floods than forest fires.
Yeah.
We also have a weekend of heavy vehicle extrication lined up in the fall, as well as a professional tree felling course scheduled tentatively for sometime in September.
A professional,
Tree felling.
that's what I thought you said.
All right, we had done in the past a few years ago, the identification being wildfires. You have a lot of burning trees, so you really need to know how to drop a tree if it's on fire. And the tangled mess we get every September, October with hurricanes rolling through.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, the last hurricane we had a big tree across Highway 14. RCMP Page just cut it down, and I've never seen our guy so happy as running a chainsaw in a hurricane. Right? I mean, it's just some things that you giggle.
Thank you, Greg. Are there any questions for Deputy Chief?
Greg, I wondered, there was something early on, I didn't want to interrupt,
Yep.
but I wanted to ask a question about there. Oh, the whaler, I think, but the engine's any good?
The engines are perfectly fine.
That my question was, it the whole works, but those motors look pretty darn good, I
They're
would
fairly
say.
new. They're
Yeah.
not that old.
So it's just the boat.
The boat is carrying over 1,000 pounds of water in its hull.
What about the fire equipment?
Everything else is fine.
You just
It's that
unbolt
boat
it, bolt
is-
it up
Just the
again.
hull,
It's a log, been sitting in the water for too long.
Yeah.
is what it is.
and budget wise, everything's okay?
So we won't be getting, I don't believe, another whaler. I mean, you're gonna pay $100,000 just for the
Whaler,
whaler.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're beautiful boats, but
Yeah.
like we have a lot of items we need to purchase, and 250,000 on a boat probably isn't one of them. So I believe we can find a replacement that will do just fine within a lower budget level.
Excellent.
Did you not get a new fire alarm? The past 2 or 3 years?
We do, they're portable, so we can just pop it off the boat and put it on the. Like
Yeah,
everything we have on there, the motors, the electronics, all that stuff, we can port to its replacement. It is literally just a hull. The hull's been sitting there. It's 1986, I think. So it's about for 40 years. It kind of didn't get as much love maybe as it should have over the years.
parked
It's
behind
getting
the
older,
hall.
it's getting gray. We all know how that feels.
Well, you know what they say about boats, hole in the water into which one pours money.
For the month.
Right, get another 1,000, right? So there's 2 happy days when you buy it, when you have a boat. First day you buy it.
The day itself?
Yeah.
So Greg, you're looking at sort of down the shore ways to pick something up, Yarmouthy way down that way?
We're not entirely sure yet, but guys who run boats, and we have a number of them in the department, I'm not one of them. We're down there and they said there's some definite options down that way. They said based on what they saw, and I have to take the word on it because I'm.
They know what they're doing, yeah.
I'm not a mariner by any stretch. They said the options down there could easily be a replacement.
Are they
At the
second
price
hand
point.
or brand new?
It'd be brand new,
Oh, yeah, well.
all right, and molded and designed the way we want it to be.
How serviceable is the lake boat for rescue?
It really contains 2 or 3 people max. So for example, we had a rescue on the island last summer and a woman had fallen, broken her arm. That required 5 of us to go out and then she was the 6th passenger back. So it's not really suited.
Okay.
The Zodiac is not suited for that kind of application.
All right.
We had noted to Lunenburg that in the event of such a situation, we'd be calling on them immediately for mutual aid. And invariably, when we do have water rescues, we do have people kind of pop their head up locally and say, look, I have a boat,
Yeah,
right? The community is excellent about that.
Okay.
So not that we're relying on the community for it, but those options do exist.
Sure.
And we do have a backup in place with regards to Lunenburg fire.
Any other questions for Greg?
I have a question. Most of the members probably don't know this, but we get a lot of medical calls. You guys get a lot of medical calls to 154 Armstrong Road.
What the heck is with that?
Isn't there a point where you have to start charging or doing something like that? It's ridiculous. That's, I mean, you guys need to go to the hospital. Oh.
Pull this meeting back to order a bit.
Oh,
please.
sorry.
We can discuss that offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reality is, there are gonna be those situations in the medical side. This is just part and parcel. On the fire side, we have alarm stocks. And you'll have the same kind of oil companies you go to. It's an unfortunate aspect of it, but it is that one part of it. And when we sign the dotted line, we sign off. As far as anything else, EHS, the governing body.
Thank you. Go home and shower.
Oh, that word once today.
Grab a cold clutch.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
All right. Moving on to 5.1. Oh, the annual public meeting.
minutes.
Jen.
The minutes, yes. There's just one tiny little error in the heading of the minutes. It's listed as the village commission monthly meeting when the agenda does say it's the annual public meeting. Are there any errors or omissions or corrections?
That is the correction, I suspect.
Be smart.
But I enjoy
There's
it.
nothing else there that looks.
I move that the minutes be accepted as amended by the chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Rand.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Randy. All those in favor?
Bye.
Carried. 5.2, regular meeting Wednesday, June 14th. Any errors or omissions? Or corrections?
Oh, that's when Danielle was here.
I don't have any notes.
No, I did all.
Hearing nothing. May I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes? Thank you,
Oh, my
Gloria.
God.
Second.
Oh,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Laura.
Chair, Randy.
Yeah, you gotta share.
Yes.
I'm
All
on.
those in favor?
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Carried. 5.3, the special meeting Tuesday, July the 4th.
Sorry to keep it, I don't mean.
Drink.
Mm.
Move the cup.
Errors, omissions, corrections.
Mm.
I don't have any notes.
Okay, motion. to approve. Thank you, Gloria. Second.
I'll say.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor? Carried. Now. Business arising, 6.1. Request for decision, Morse Brewster Lake. We have. A lot of pages. I know that you have read it all.
Mhm.
I have read it all, but I do have a question. I was kind of under the impression that we had pretty much covered this in our meeting with the auditing
The audit
firm.
committee,
Yeah,
the audit committee meeting.
yeah, so I was puzzled why this was on the agenda a subsequent time.
Heather, have you been able to ascertain?
I haven't spoken to Lawrence since. The difference with this is not the financial statements themselves. It was the final version of the document that we received has two letters, three letters, actually. Two of them require a signature.
Yeah,
Those-
I read the package, but I was
Yeah.
just wondering, because it didn't require all of us to sign them, did it?
No,
Yeah.
In my experience, my lengthy experience, I have never come across so much cover my backside.
Boilerplate, basically.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been with nonprofits, NGOs, whatever, for 40 years, and I've never seen this come up on an agenda subsequent to an audit meeting.
this, I have, this is standard at a municipality. So it may very well be that they're just extending that
Okay.
with villages.
Yeah, it's not that I object, it just seems such a duplicate of effort and paper and ink and I mean, we've already done it.
Well, I'll make the motion if you're gonna get on with it. That the commission approve the audit letters as received from Morse Brewster Lake. And direct the chair to sign the engagement letter and the clerk treasurer to sign the representation letter. And return to the auditors.
Thank you
Excellent
very
job.
much, Randy. Second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gloria. Well done. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Crazy, the month that's in this stuff.
6.2, request for decision, update on boardroom, audio, visual, and furniture. It's on page 24.
Yeah, and this was another one that I had a question. I mean, this is procedure, I know. But we have approved the purchase, so we have to reapprove it because we changed the fiscal year, even though the approval was approved.
Correct, yeah.
That is so
The
weird.
intention when it was approved was that it would come out of the funds that have not yet been spent. But because the year closed and those funds had to roll into the reserve funds, we just have to kind of revisit it. Because it's not in the current budget, it was expected it would happen prior to, only part of it did.
Well, I would like to remove my original movement that.
Okay.
We purchased this material in the current fiscal year as opposed to the past fiscal year.
Yeah,
And
I
with the
think,
same maximum expenditure budget. Does that work for you?
Sorry, what were you asking for the same?
Just to revise the motion so that it's the same amount,
is it,
7,500 plus
Yeah.
HST.
but that the total expenditures. Already expended, plus whatever we need to spend in this fiscal year, add up to 7,500 plus HST. In other words, the expenditure total amount does not change.
Really?
How do we? Yeah, I see what you're trying to do, Geraldine. I'm not sure that,
Our original motion was we spent $7,500, so we spent X
Sure.
amount of money in one fiscal year.
And you
So
don't
my
wish
motion is we spend the balance of that
the
seven.
balance of it.
Yeah.
The
And then not
7,500
exceed the-
minus
Yeah.
what has already been.
yes,
The
spent.
total not be of 7,500 not be exceeded in so. the
No,
total-
I think you're saying two things.
No, you're hearing two things.
Well, the motion was,
Nobody has a sense of humor in this room.
the motion, I believe, was to spend $7,500
And
last year.
that's the motion I would like to.
We have already spent money on
Approximately
this
little
and
shy
this
of
and
2,000.
this.
Which is why I said that the total expenditure budget should not exceed $7,500.
Minus what was spent already.
You
Should
don't
not
say
exceed
minus.
$5,500.
No, the total expenditure in
Of
both
the 2
fiscal years
years.
would not exceed $7,500.
I don't like the idea of it coming out of general government operating reserves or whatever they say.
All our money.
But can we just,
Let's just cool it a bit. And we'll start and have an intelligent discussion, starting with Randy.
okay, I mean, I tend to agree with what you just said. That the total amount has to be, what is it, 7,500 or whatever, that
Yeah.
includes what's gone and what's coming.
Yeah.
To my way of thinking.
Yeah.
The question is, how do we make this legal, like that we're carrying stuff from a previous year? And into this year, the 7,500 was already allotted, but in the different budgetary year, okay?
Well,
So how do we
the
do
clerk
that?
treasurer has a draft motion.
It's,
Randy's got the floor here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused about, can't we just? Now that budget is closed for this year, we can't just say, oh, let's throw that in. To the budget or whatever. I don't know about going from reserves. I'm not sure I like that too much, but maybe there's no legal way we can. Revisit it and say, well, look, you have another 2,500 to spend or whatever, something like that. So I guess I see what's being done here, but I think I share Nancy's concern that the whole shebang do not exceed $7,500. However,
That wasn't
oh, I'm
I
sorry,
said
you seem to be
the
saying,
whole shebang.
including last year's purchases and this year's purchase.
Be 7,500 minus the 2,000 already spent.
Okay, well, that was last year's money,
Mhm.
and all we allow is another 5,000 or whatever. I guess.
That was just a comment that I,
No, but I feel that way too. I guess we want to achieve $7,500. How do we do it?
Laura,
Well, can't we just make it, what is it, 5? Why don't we just move for $5,000 maximum budget to purchase the remaining 2 items, what are they, chairs, video monitor and installation.
Lori, you got any comments?
No, I'm not, so I'm just, so we already spent,
We bought these
we
tables.
bought these tables
And
and monitors,
this thing here,
microphone and stuff, okay.
Those things there.
What else do we need to?
Chairs.
Chairs.
Yeah.
And a large monitor for the
First thing.
Oh,
for the gallery
okay.
possibly, or the commission. My concern is twofold. We do have money to spend on the Lido pool wall repair.
Mhm.
And at some point, we may be receiving an accessibility grant to access the Lido pool. I would rather not take money from the general government reserve fund. Unless it's budgeted. Because we do have other expenses in line. That's my comment. Geraldine, back to you.
I think that the materials that we are discussing in this particular motion are important to our work. I think that we have sufficient money in the budget to cover it. That we've already discussed it previously. We're simply moving it forward really from one fiscal to another. And I think that we should carry on and keeping in mind that this is a maximum expenditure. I suspect that we won't come anywhere near the maximum in acquiring the materials that we need to do our business.
Well, everybody has had an opinion. So your motion, Geraldine,
Shall I read the clerk treasurer's motion?
sure.
Okay. I move that the commission approve the clerk treasurer to purchase equipment to upgrade the boardroom with video monitors and 8 boardroom chairs to a maximum expenditure of. Can I say $7,500 plus HST less whatever has already been expended?
Well, why don't you just say $5,000?
To the maximum of $5,000 plus HST and shipping, with the funds to come from the general government operating reserve.
May I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Laura. All those in favor?
All right.
Carried. All right, now we're launching into equity and anti-racism strategy. For information. That would be pages,
26 to 60 or 70.
and yeah. Heather, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, this is as, thank you, Madam Chair, as she said, this is for information. This is mainly to let us know that, this is the draft strategy from the province, but they will, this is mostly to let us know that they will be working with municipalities and villages to create plans in alignment with this strategy. So there will be some workshops that begin to happen, I believe, in the fall. So again, just an update on this process.
That's a lot of paper for a lot of people.
Government.
Thank you very much. Yes, Geraldine.
Are they intending that each of the municipalities and commissions establish a committee, or have they suggested a new framework for this, or are they just introducing it as a concept?
They're expecting each municipality and village to develop a plan around EDI that is in alignment with the strategy. Now, how that plan is drafted is up to each municipality.
And do they have a schedule?
They haven't given us a schedule yet, other than that timeline I shared last
Right.
week.
Yeah.
So they will be scheduling virtual workshops to walk everyone through what the expectations are and what the steps should be to create our plan. It may very well turn into a bit of a regional effort on this front, as there is currently in development with the 5 municipal units in Lunenburg County. They have a joint EDI committee that they're in the middle of approving terms of reference for. So it may be something that we can work with.
That's what I was
municipalities
wondering, if
on.
they were going to try and marry those two.
I think they probably
Yeah.
will in that case, but that's really up to each municipal unit how they do it. It's just likely that they'll do it as a group, similar to how they did accessibility in Lunenburg County.
Randy.
So this was basically a framework.
Correct.
And then now we're expected to do the detail where all of us, not us, but Lunenburg and everybody
The
else.
execution of.
Execution, that's the word it's looking
It
for.
would be nice to be able to come up with one solid. Uniform
Yes.
dialogue.
Provincially or municipally, you do like.
Locally, regionally.
Regionally, yeah, that would be.
Well, it seems like if they're suggesting they're going to set up virtual workshops, perhaps that's how we can begin to set up a format of some sort or another.
Yeah. Okay. CCT. TH 7.1. Digital marketing program acceptance. Another bit of information. Yes, Geraldine.
What's that all about?
So this is the digital marketing. Application that we submitted. There was 3 streams of the program and it was really up to them which one they approved us for. So we did not get the piece of the program to create some assets, which was a piece that we were looking at. What they approved us for is this community digital marketing, so it's not a financial grant. What they did is identify the village as one of the locations to promote within Atlantic Canada for a particular road trip type of campaign. So this is just letting us know that we've been accepted, and I sent around to everybody last week the actual deck that from the
Video.
from the agency of record that shows the flight dates and so on. So the summer flight, we really didn't have an opportunity to have a lot of input into that. But there will be another flight of advertising done in the winter. So we're hoping to have a bit more input into that one.
So when they do the winter, it's for the summer as opposed to a winter. We don't have a lot to offer in the winter here.
It is let me try that again. It is meant to be for the winter, to encourage visitation in the winter as well. A lot of that would be around holiday shopping. And things like that.
Christmas tree lighting.
Snowshoeing, they give out snowshoes at the
Yes.
municipality.
Yeah, the trails, I suppose, and
Randy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think, was it you that brought it up when you introduced this thing to us by email that some of the photos and things weren't in Chester, they were in the Trellis and they were all these other
Yes.
places?
There was a couple of shots near the end of 2 of them
Yeah,
that were not. within
one was the
village.
Trellis and I don't forget the other one there, but.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
something from Hubbard's.
But they said in response to you, and apparently this is what we have to work with. Do you want it or don't you want it, basically was what they,
Yeah, there was
unless you
no
could do
opportunity to re-edit.
assets without having to pay actors and all that. They didn't want
They're not
assets that
sure.
attracted money, yeah.
So I am actually digging around with the municipality, and I've also approached the merchants group to see if we can come up with some more assets that we can provide.
Specifically for us, yeah.
Specifically, that goes beyond what is in the library tourism right now. Which isn't much.
yeah, I think we probably have to be relatively insistent because we can't allow them to come back and say, take it or leave it, screw you.
So,
Come winter time.
Which is why I'm starting to look for those assets. now.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, please continue.
Thank you. Come winter time, we can have them film the road conditions.
On Walker Road.
No.
On any road.
Road.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
So we've said, yes, we'll go with it, yeah, okay. Which is all right.
But I hope we said, yes, we'll go with it, but this time use pictures of the winter.
Yeah,
That's
the
all
other
they
one
had.
The other picture was the deck and
That's
glass.
Yeah.
All right, Heather, 8.1.
Oh, we still have the Leader Pool and Chester Fire Services to go.
What is? that? So page
7.1.
71. Oh,
Reports.
clerk treasurer.
Clerk treasurer.
Did we skip? Did I accidentally skip? Clerk treasurer?
Yes,
Sorry.
I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'll review the report. Thank you again, Madam Chair. The Lido reopened on July 5th on a reduced public swim schedule due to the availability of lifeguard staff. And I can intervene here that we have managed to find a couple of other people, so we'll be able to expand a little bit beyond what we were thinking.
What is your total now?
We have 1 full-time and now we have 4 part-timers. 1 is a fully certified and the other 3 are juniors. So it
Maybe we could hold our questions to the end.
Other public pools and beaches in Lunenburg County are unfortunately experiencing the same thing as the hiatus in training caused by the pandemic has not yet caught up. We currently have one full-time and one part-time certified lifeguards and several part-time junior lifeguards. That's 3 now. At least one lifeguard is required to be on duty at all times, with juniors for support to maintain no fewer than 2 pool staff on duty at all times. The Life Saving Society recommends 2 for up to 80 bathers. The public swim schedule will vary a little from week to week based on weather conditions and staff availability. It will be posted weekly to the website, social media, and a physical sign on the gate. The same process will be followed for any that changes, and you may have already seen some of these posts up for week 1 and now week 2. The public is advised to check the village website or Facebook for opening hours or call the office. Swimming lessons begin on Monday this week and take place Monday to Friday. Chester Fire Services Committee, the municipality of Chester and the village both approved the revising partnership agreement, which makes the joint committee a body corporate. Financial insurance arrangements to follow as soon as possible. I did documents for signing should come. Any questions? Yes,
Do we often have as many as 80 bathers at the pool?
Yes, because
I was going to say, I don't think that would be an issue.
Years ago, we did,
Yeah.
Really?
used to be like over 100.
Really?
Yeah, it used to
Question.
Be really busy.
Maxine, you said you saw some kids. Hooligans.
Yeah.
What do we do about that, or is there?
That was
Which one
the
is that?
ones climbing around the outside of the pool, hanging on the rope. And then you seen somebody already of the accident who went over and bumped his head and.
basically, that's part of the duties of the pool staff is to.
Were there were staff there?
Yeah, staff were there, Gibby was there and I was there, and we all told them to get down and they made sure they climbed all the way over.
There's lots of signs up around about these things, but kids.
And will they call, if they're disobedient, will they call the police? Do they know what to do?
If it's an issue.
It's in their guidelines that if there's an issue of personal safety that they don't feel that they can cope with themselves, they are to call.
Because we're only young kids. some of them.
yeah,
So if we only have one full-time certified lifeguard, so if that lifeguard is not available, the pool cannot be open. Is that
We
correct?
have a second part-time certified
Oh,
lifeguard.
okay.
So correct, if either one of them can't be there, then we can't open.
Okay.
So if somebody gets sick, we may very well have to have some unscheduled shutdowns.
And for the fire services, do we have a time frame around the financial and insurance arrangements?
We need the filing into the body corporate, into the registry of joint stocks.
Yeah.
Has to happen before, they want to see copies of this before we can initiate. that. So hopefully in the next week or so. Thank you, Heather. Moving on. 8.2 financial. Okay, so financial, the May bank balance is reconciled. The end of the statement, the bank account balance was 512,837.29. As we had received the first quarter's tax revenue. Online review shows that during the month of June 2023, there have been bank deposits of $2,513.44 and expenses of $127,870.27 for a bank balance on June 30th of $387,480.60. The final $50,000 repayment on the loan from the fire apparatus reserve for the land purchase of the former Windjammer site was made on June 15th per the reserve funds policy, so that is now complete.
done.
Good. The budgeted reserve transfers, the 2023-24 budget identified the following amounts to be transferred to reserves completed as cash flow permits. General government operating reserve of $3,308.40 was completed in Q1, which we'll see when we get our Q1 financial report on our investments. And there is an indication for the Lido pool to get a $30,000 reserve payment, which we would suggest for Q3, although that may change as well, depending on what happens with our capital project. Surplus to reserves per the audited financial statements, the village's 2022-23 surplus totaled 191,898, which under the MGA is required to be transferred to reserves. These transfers will take place throughout the 2023-24 budget year, completed as cash flow permits. The amounts to be transferred to reserves are as follows. The operating surplus is 45,415, and we are suggesting that the general government piece go in probably Q3. And the fire emergency operating reserve, we're suggesting to go in this quarter because of the upcoming separation of finances. So we want to keep that clear. What the exact figure is in the surplus between general government and fire, I need to get from Lawrence, and he's yet to provide me with that full breakdown. So when I have that, I'll let you know. Capital surplus is 146,483. And that's broken into Lido pool, utilities, and EHS. And this is the suggested amounts and timing. So Q2 is really our heaviest one for expenses because of the pool operation and the summer compost and so on. So that's our biggest hit for cash flow. So it's for that reason, I'm suggesting a lot of it happen in Q3. HST, we are still waiting. Just to keep you up to date on that. Can't anyway. And the 2022-23 audit, the audited financial statements were approved at the June 6th annual public meeting. The final pieces of the audit, the management engagement and representation letters have arrived and will be addressed, which was already done this evening. Thank you. Any questions?
Heather, I have a question with regard to the 191,000. That only 45,000 will be transferred into general government and fire. The capital surplus is comprised of what?
These figures all come out of the financial statements from the audit. So that's where those figures come from. And sorry, I'm losing my words. The financial statements separated the operating and capital. So these are unspent budget money that we had from last year. So the commission can always choose to deposit more. This is strictly what was left over in the budget of last year that wasn't spent and has to be rolled over into reserves.
So my question is, was the entire CDFD capital budget expended?
I don't have the breakdown of that. That's what I'm waiting for.
I think we need to take a closer look at these figures and get confirmation from Mr. Lake.
Yeah, that's the breakout I'm still looking for.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of driving toward when I was writing my memo to you, because I'm not at all clear on where these figures come from, who decides what they are. Is this actual
These are
accounts or is
actuals.
it just paper money, you know?
They are actual, so the reserves that we keep 5 or 6 of them, six. We keep 6 of them, each of them is in a separate investment account with Scotiabank, and they're all kept in GIC, so that's that investment report that we get quarterly. So when we make a deposit to a reserve, we take cash out of the main account. So it's like a 2-part process that we take cash out of the main account. Then the reserve it's going into, they have to cash out those GICs and repurchase with the additional funds.
And it sounds to me like we're paying fees every time we do this, which does not make that much sense to me. I mean, why are we doing that? We're paying money to put money in, we're paying money to take money out. It seems a very cumbersome
So
system.
fees are pretty tiny. There's only usually about $20-30 a month. In the main account anyway.
Are you talking service fees for the investments?
Yeah, usually you know, you're paying 25 to put it in, 25 to take it out, 25 to put it in, 25, you've got 6
Yeah.
funds, you do it
We
once a
don't
month.
almost- We
That's
don't
up.
actually do it once a month. We do it pretty infrequently. Usually it's purchased for the year. It's only if we're actually making a payment into one that we have to do this, or if we're taking something out. So it doesn't, it's not monthly.
I think we only did it once last year that we went and cashed out those GICs and then reinvested. them.
Because we got a better interest rate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rolled
Yeah, we
off.
did.
Certainly
And
better
actually, so
price
far,
than
the
now.
interest rates have been better when the purchases we have made this year.
Yeah, and if you have to, the money has to be taken care of somehow. You can't just have it in petty cash or something, you know.
So these funds here, this is what is essentially is reflected at end of year for our last fiscal year. But we just
Yeah.
haven't received the audit reports for the
Well,
final.
we've received the audit reports for the total and the split between operating and capital. We haven't previously asked for general government and fire to be separated out. Because it hasn't been necessary before, but I've asked for it to be done this time because we know we have to separate the accounts. So he just has to get back to me with that.
And also, it would be nice to have a non-consolidated. Statement that shows the actual non-depreciated amount. Non-amortized, whatever.
Yeah.
Would you prefer to have Heather do a breakdown of the bank fees? On a monthly basis? or-
I would like to see
Quarterly?
these reserves. I just feel like they're, it's not that I think there's anything wrong, but I just feel like they're floating around and I can't get a grasp on them.
Yeah, we can. We get the quarterly statements from the bank, but I can go on anytime and see.
For instance, now, we're saying, EH Services Reserve, we're gonna put money in there in the fourth quarter, right? So I'm assuming that that money is coming from the surplus from last fiscal year and perhaps, now,
It's
where
not.
is that coming from?
That comes from our budget. So there's money that goes into reserve, so the surplus from the previous year must go to the reserve. And then.
Is where reserve, what reserve? That $191, where is it going?
Yeah, it goes into these different reserve accounts.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
where that's going.
So that's the surplus. So the surplus from the previous year has to go into these reserve accounts. What you also have is that part of the budget for 23-24 was making certain deposits to reserves, and that's what's in the budget that was approved. in
Okay, so
March.
those Q4 figure or Q3, that's from the current fiscal year, but the 191 blah blah is just going to go in once. When?
That's what I'm saying. So we're talking about two different things.
Please.
Yeah.
The EHS specifically, a certain amount was budgeted for operations of the facility. And the excess coming from the rent for EHS was to be transferred into the EHS reserve. And that was the $991.
Okay,
So
Got
that takes care of that particular reserve
okay,
for last fiscal year.
okay.
And
So
that
all
money-
these numbers here are last fiscal year. They're
No,
not projections.
In surplus to reserves, those are from last year, correct?
Okay.
but in the operating account, they're current. All right, thank you, Heather. It's as clear as mud.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have to agree, I don't quite. know.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'd like to have a workshop on that.
We could certainly do that.
Yeah.
So Heather, you would like to speak on Lido security under.
Yeah. Just gonna pass this around. It's not a huge item, but we have a line item in the budget for 1,600. For security at the overnight security at the pool for race week, which I believe has happened for a number of years.
Okay.
Everybody got one? Yep. Okay. So we got some costing back. We have to add some travel time, which is reasonable. So just on the guard hours, we have a slight overage of 150, which I wouldn't have bothered you with. But there, we may need to also pay for the rental of a vehicle and gas, depending on whether the guard in question has a vehicle. Because all of the ones that belong to the security company are maxed out, they don't have a spare. And they won't actually know this really until the week of. So assuming that we have to provide that all 5 nights, if it's the same guard, I don't know, we would be looking at an extra 1,275 on top of the 1,600. So simply because that is a increase in that line item, I just want to get your approval that you would still like to do the security, like to have it be 5 days, whatever.
What company is this, Heather?
Northeastern Protection.
What is it?
Northeastern.
And is that who we've always used? And did we shop around or anything, or is it not worth shopping around?
It's just too
I-
large.
I'm sorry, do we have a contract with them now? We do not. So we can shop around.
We're cutting, sorry, I'm looking at my watch. We are cutting it a little close to look for other suppliers. It's true. Availability of staff is a challenge with all of them.
I'm just wondering if we could sister with CYC since they have 24-hour security or overnight security and you know, geographically, they're not that far apart. And they've got 3 bodies on the premises at night, every night during race week. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as a
I think it's a
possibility.
good idea.
Well,
I
if they
think
have,
that's a good idea. Check with the yacht club.
the only thing is that they may want those 3 people on their property to look at.
But we
Well,
can
I was
just
just
talk,
thinking it
we
was
get
so geographically you're so close, get a fourth
Fourth
one or
one.
something, but you know,
They could
like
travel
if
together.
we work together, you maybe only 1 car for 4 cars.
a lot
as
of money for
opposed
a
to-
car.
Yeah,
It is.
I think it might be worthwhile to.
Should
talk
Heather
to
call
Kim
Kim?
Johnson about
That's a
it.
great
Should
suggestion.
Heather call Kim? Who to organize?
It would be Kim Johnson, that's my sister, by the way. And
So
I'm
Johnson.
also, I'm the morning manager during race week for CYC, so if the worst comes worse, you can ask me.
I've spoken to Kim before, so I'm quite comfortable to do that.
All right,
That's
I
a great
think
idea.
that is a very good idea. Thank you for suggesting it, Geraldine.
Well, we might at least save the rental fees is what I was thinking.
Yeah, but I do believe that with the yacht club requiring 3,
They might get a 4th. and-
I think
yeah.
a 4th one specifically for the leader pool
Yeah, not a,
is.
Yeah,
is-
and they could
is
all travel
appropriate.
together and then that would at least reduce like. Rental car or something. I don't know, it may not
I'll
work
speak to
out.
Kim.
And
see
we
what
would
she says.
offset the 4th guy.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Take care, yeah.
hey, thank you.
There is no in-camera session today. Yeah. And last item on the agenda, I believe, is the Commissioner Roundtable. Laura, would you like to start?
But your concerns.
all right, so I was approached by 3 different citizens from Walker Road in the Back Harbor regarding the condition of the road, the abysmal, dangerous condition of the road, and I have been driving my daughter to babysit at the very end of Walker Road, and I'm sure I need new shocks now, so I realize that is not our mandate, but it is part of the village, they are paying a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
And I feel that perhaps a little push, a little letter to whomever. Might be helpful.
Yes, I would certainly suggest that as a commission that we talk to our MLA and our District 3 counselor and suggest that since there is a joint responsibility for Walker Road, that they might have a look at it.
Are we talking, excuse me, Walker Cut? No, it's the road.
Walker Back
Where's-
Harbor.
Yeah, the road back.
Yeah,
there.
Walker.
Yeah,
cuts up on-
yeah, that's the top one, isn't it?
So we have District 3 MLA or District 3
Counselor.
Counselor.
Yeah.
MLA. do we want to include TIR?
Well, the polite thing to do is to ask the MLA rather than go to TIR because we don't have a direct relationship with TIR. So, and the MLA,
They'll do that, yeah.
the MLA does.
Let her do the dirty work.
It's kind of like,
Yeah. Heather, would you please
Absolutely.
draft communication for us? Anything else, Laura?
I was just approached regarding garbage by the pump house at the pool. Regarding, from the owner of the grocery store. Who also happens to keep a boat there and has a house on Tancook, so I think it's in the interest of. Garbage and unsightliness, but he also is aware of, he had a garbage can at the grocery store, which is now inside because people empty, as we
Yes.
discussed.
yeah, they're.
So
issues.
it's, and if you call Public Works, they'll say, don't put a garbage can if you don't want to collect everyone's stuff, that people take their garbage home, but they
Yeah.
don't take it home, they.
Throw
Chuck
it. Yeah,
So it's a difficult issue.
The sad thing is if we don't put a receptacle there, they just throw it on the ground. But then if we do put a receptacle there, heaven only knows how much will accumulate. Is it actually our property or is it MOC property?
I believe it's the municipal property.
Well, perhaps we could
Could
write
be
a
right.
friendly letter to the MOC.
I think whoever just said, you put a garbage bin in,
Yeah.
you're gonna get garbage from everybody.
yeah.
Yeah,
As we already know from the fire.
Okay. We employ a man to empty the garbage around the Lido and the,
We the village do?
yes. Perhaps he could be encouraged to add one more stop on his collections.
So who is this person? Oh, Terry, yeah.
Yeah.
Terry
so
Dawn?
would we
No,
actually?
Dawn.
Oh, Dawn.
Would
Terry,
we
yeah.
actually put a container there? Or would he just collect garbage that was dumped?
Perhaps the municipality would put something larger than feed bucket.
Yeah,
And our man could empty it.
And our person could empty it,
Yeah.
yes.
that'd be a good idea.
Could you write that letter in?
No, I
Jason's
think-
gonna think I've got swing.
Laura.
Oh, man, feeling powerful today.
Anything you want done, talk to Laura.
All
Alright, thank you for that. And that was everything on my list.
I was wondering, the little clip that we got from Carol. No.
Yes, yes.
Whether or not we were able to get that on the website, Heather,
Is that
the Historic Society clip?
Yes.
Oh, good, yay, okay.
Is that the one that Dawn did?
Yes.
Yeah, Don Harper.
I tried to go to the link and it was nothing. It's been removed or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
it
It's
worked.
a letter that came from you, I think.
I
And
saw your. oh,
yeah, Heather
but
had
it's now-
trouble with it.
Yeah, because the link that she had sent initially was a private link.
Was the room.
So it got moved, it got a new link when it was made public, so
okay.
I've shared it to our YouTube page and also to our social media and our website, so you can find
Oh,
it.
it's on the website,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you can find it there.
It's called, do you know?
Yeah, you think, so you think you know Chester or something?
Yeah. Sounds very Dawnish.
Is it older?
No, it's
No,
quite
it's
new.
brand
It's the three churches and it has Zoe Ballet
Okay.
Library and it has Lordley House. It's very short, but it's quite nice.
And Don Harwood Jones did the actual
Okay.
making of it.
And I'm hoping that it is a teaser for more to come.
Yeah,
I do have, does anybody else have anything for the? I do have this, which is the secondary planning strategy for the village of Chester. There are 3 meetings, from one on July the 22nd, July the 26th, and August the 3rd, to receive your input on various aspects of the secondary planning strategy for the village. Voices and Choices is active on the municipal website, so that's at the very bottom of the page, the last entry.
Man,
Yes. The sessions will be held at St. Stephen's Community Hall.
Take a picture of that.
And Heather, if you would put that in the window,
Yeah,
that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
have I been asleep? Why have I not heard?
At the
Yeah.
post office, that one is.
Oh,
on
I don't know
the
the
board.
post office.
I can circulate some of the links to you all if that's. if that's
I think the
helpful.
26th is when we have the governance thing,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So that one,
I
there's
did,
two
it
others.
just seemed very strange, there's a village plan review without the
July
village
20.
commission officially
Yeah, we have a
connected
meeting.
with it.
I have been your representative
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
on the
I withdraw my complaint.
Village Planning Advisory Committee,
that's right, yeah.
so if you don't like
That's,
it.
no, that's fine.
No, it's fine.
I'm perfectly happy, I just,
I would be very happy to be
To
replaced.
relinquish it, yeah, exactly.
it came out of the blue to me, I'm glad to know that you're involved in it.
Is this got to do with what somebody made a presentation at a previous meeting a while ago?
Oh, no.
Last year sometime?
There was
they
something
made a
at the Legion,
presentation.
wasn't there 2 events, one was at
Yes,
the Legion and the
Yes, but they
afternoon.
come here and talk to, it took a lot longer than what we thought. And then they've gone to the Legion and.
That's a
is
biggie.
that the same
No,
thing?
not last year, because I don't remember it.
I'm not sure.
Dennis was here then, so
Oh,
maybe it was the year before.
Yeah.
I think it looks
Anyway.
very interesting,
I think that's what
I
they
can't do
did.
the July 22nd.
and we've got
And
a
we've got
session on the
a-
26th.
I'm going, my daughter's getting married next year and we're going on that day to pick out her wedding dress.
Well,
Danielle.
do you really think that's important?
Yes.
Priorities.
So I could definitely can't do anything on that day.
All right, well, now, before we we will adjourn. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.
That was a double
And
motion, by the way.
a double.
Double strength.
But before you leave, you're done, or Heather, with the audio and the visual,
We are still
okay,
live.
well.